And then there's fear of all the advice you get from people and you doubting yourself because you hear this is what you have to do to succeed. This is what you have to do to get attention on social media. This is how you grow a YouTube channel. This is how you edit. This is how you record. This is how you do everything. You script this, you plot everything out. You plan everything as a certain plan of attack that's a perfect concoction of getting the algorithm, getting people's attention in a short attention span economy and all of this noise. And I just had to say, shut the fuck. This is a day with Clay. Now, I don't even know really what this is. It's more of a tool for me. I don't know if this is a YouTube channel and I don't know if this is a podcast. Although I was a co-host on a podcast a couple of years ago, and that was honestly when I was having the most fun in my life. So this is something I've been really excited about doing and been talking about. It's been a brain baby of mine for over 2 years, but I never did it because I honestly didn't know how. I didn't know how to start. I got into a cycle of consuming too much of how other people are doing it instead of just doing it myself and actually just taking a step forward and doing it and being it. So here I am just doing it. I want to share a little bit about my story. Within the last 3 years, I've made a lot of crazy decisions, including getting married rather quickly, deciding that I'm moving to Mexico, and 5 months later, selling everything I owned and shaking my entire life upside down and moved to Mexico. And I have reasons and logic and perspectives behind why I made all these decisions. And I think it'd be really cool to have discussion and talk about why I've made these decisions and what led me to getting here. And on top of that, I want to talk about things that I want to talk about, things that I care about. I'm really passionate about health, fitness, and well-being and just living a longer, better life. And I really love talking about the psychology around like sales and history and language, how we communicate in relationships. I want to talk about stories. I want to talk about experience. I want people to be able to share their story of why they are who they are today and that be able to impact people. I actually want to talk about real estate. I want to talk about what it's like living here in Mexico. Like, what are some of my outlooks that made me to believe that this was the best place for me? These are all just things that I've been unpacking for a long time. And I think it's really important for people to have, or at least hear these conversations to allow them to grow and really be on a journey of finding out who they really are as a person. That's a big journey that I've been on in the last few years, is really finding out who I am and what makes me tick. And I know a big part of that is being able to help people and impact people any way I can. I've learned a lot of things along these wild experiences I've had in life. It's a wild and all over the place, crazy story of how I ended up here. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I want to bring on cool people that can share these perspectives. I have so many interesting people around me in my sphere, people that I know, the people that I'm lucky enough to call friends, that are so genuinely interesting and are really good at something. And I know that they all have really cool stories about how they got there. And I think a lot of people would learn a lot from hearing those types of conversations. So that's what A Day with Clay is all about. Basically, me just sharing what I want to share and bringing you suckers along for the ride. I still don't know what this format is going to look like. All I know is I'm taking the first steps. I know my lighting isn't perfect and maybe I'm shiny in the face and maybe my camera's crooked right now and I'm only using a HD webcam. I don't have a fancy camera. I'm using a ring light and a colorful LED light and a room of which I don't really have the resources right now to turn into a glamorous studio that I would be, that's my recording studio. Even though this looks like the perfect microphone that all the best podcasters have, honestly, I have a lot of issues with audio. So that's going to get better. And I'm sure down the line, I'll start editing them a little bit differently and add more things to it and add an actual structure to it. I don't know. But all I know is that stuff will come and all I need to do is just get started. So not only am I starting this channel to help you guys and help anyone else that might be impacted by messages they hear on this show, this podcast, whatever this is, but I'm also selfishly doing this for myself. Because in this journey of trying to discover who it is that I really am, I've learned that this is really what I want to be doing. And in order to do that, I need to overcome the fears that I have. And that's one of the first things I want to talk about. I want to talk about fear. I had fears coming at me from so many different angles, and that's part of why I haven't started this. So it's been 2 years I've been talking about this passion project of mine that I haven't started, and I just haven't gotten to it yet. And it's because of fear. If there's always the fear of failure. I know a lot of people talk about it, and I'm down to talk about it in great detail. And then there's the comparison. What am I gauging my success on all these different platforms that I'm sharing my story with? Because when I first moved back to Mexico, I was in a stage of transition. I was just trying to think of how I want to go about this approach. And I spent so much time looking at the way other people are doing it and look what works for other people, and spent so much time over analyzing that I didn't actually physically start anything. And that is not a cycle that I want to be in, especially for a creation that's so close to my heart. And there's also the fear of success. I know that sounds insane to even talk about or comprehend, but when you really unpack it, there's a lot of things that changed, a lot of responsibility, and a lot of especially change in your life. I was not in a competitive state. I was in a very docile state, I guess you could say, and I wasn't mentally prepared to do it. So it absolutely can be a real thing, as much as it sounds stupid. And then there's fear of all the advice you get from people and you doubting yourself because you hear this is what you have to do to succeed. This is what you have to do to get attention on social media. This is how you grow a YouTube channel. This is how you edit. This is how you record. This is how you do everything. You script this, you plot everything out, you plan everything as a certain plan of attack that's a perfect concoction of getting the algorithm, getting people's attention in a short attention span economy, and all of this noise. And I just had to say, shut the fuck up. If this is going to be a day with Clay, this has to be the way I want to do it. And I know that from me showing up repeatedly, I'm not promising any time frames. I'm not saying I'm dropping an episode every Friday. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up as much as I can. And if that means I get one episode out a week, that's beautiful. You know, it takes time to think of something that I actually want to talk about. And who knows, maybe I'll make notes. I don't know. I have to edit these videos. I have 2 other businesses that I'm working on. So I'm not holding myself to any challenge of showing up and having a deadline on an episode. I want to do this. This isn't something I should be doing. This is something I had a conversation about this morning. The word should and the word have to. These words are just so confining and create barriers instead of possibilities. So this isn't a part of a job that I should be doing. This is something that I want to be doing. Because honestly, once I start to get to have these conversations with people that may leave an impact for other people, like people have done for me, I have listened to so many podcasts. I've been a podcast junkie since sure as hell before it was cool to listen to podcasts. I think it was 2015 while I was working in the oil field up north. I started listening to podcasts, and classic started with Joe Rogan podcast, and still listen to every episode I can that has an interesting person. I don't listen to all the stand-up comedians and famous people. Like, I go listen to the doctors and the psychologists and the professors and all these different people that he has on, and hearing their different opinions. And so many of those conversations have impacted me, so I hope they can impact you people as well. And hopefully I'm just providing another resource of a piece of content that someone can listen to and resonate with. And hopefully that helps them with their journey of finding out who they really are and how they want to operate. So I'm here for it. This is going to be a fun ride. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next episode, but it's going to be fucking fun. And the best part is, how everyone tells you that you have to niche and you have to have a category and you have to have, show up consistently this way and that way. I don't want to do that. So if you only like listening to one thing that I have to say every once in a while, oh well. I think I'm going to be talking about something fairly interesting for a fairly interesting reason most of the time. And that's what lights me up, and I hope I can light other people up along with it. So I think it's going to be a cool show to follow. So until next time, who knows what we're going to talk about, but we'll see you there.